hello and welcome back to Build Propulsion Lab at DP Tour London. And now I have a lot of guests in my next interview, which is pretty exciting. We rarely do this kind of a panel thing, and I think this is pretty cool. And we have Alex, and we have Jack, and we have Lucas, that was the wrong order because now I cannot group you. I cannot group you by affiliation. So let's try it again. We have Alex and Lucas with American Airlines, and we have Jack with Spotify.
Yes. Yeah.
And we're going to talk about Backstage. Surprise! I guess Jack kind of gave it away because as you all know, Spotify are the creator and still the biggest contributor.
Yes.
To yes, should be here.
Sorry, yes.
Here we go. To the Backstage project, which is an open source developer productivity tool that does what?
Well, it's a very open question on what it does. It can do so many things, but its main jobs that it does is to categorize your software components and the ownership behind them, and visualize them for you so you can truly understand who owns what in your company and how can I get the information I need for my software as soon as possible. So an advanced installation of Backstage looks like a single pane of glass where you can go into your software components, and there you'll have everything you need to know about it. All your deep integrations with observability and any metrics regarding it right there in front of you, and not having to cross over into many, many different bookmarks to try and find those.
All right, so basically it's like the software directory that we always used to have, right? But I guess on more because it will give you not only, hey, this is how you can install and launch Zoom, right, or Slack or whatever, but also the metrics that this particular component have to do within your company.
Yes, exactly. And Backstage itself is a developer platform, but it's also seen as a developer platform framework. So it gives you the tools to be able to really customize that. And Backstage is being donated to the CNCF, the Cloud Native Computing Foundation, by Spotify. And it's now the most contributed project within the CNCF. So that means that all the plugins and customization you want to do to Backstage is incredibly large. I think the last time I looked on NPM for the plugins, there was over 600 available to you. So whatever your tech stack is in your organization, there's a really good chance there's a plugin for it to really highlight all these different integrations and things you have to manage as a developer today in 2024.
This is impressive, and I would say, okay, so now it's a combination of the software catalog and Grafana that gives you all the dashboards about everything. I'll get the right analogy eventually. Okay, folks. So, does it do all that really? Like in reality, do you even see that?
So, I mean, Backstage, like what he said earlier, it's not really a question of what can it do or what does it do. It's like, what can it not do? Because it can pretty much be whatever you need it to be. I think the most important part is like everything that he said, but on top of that, the extensibility. You can have all the plugins that you have from that are published publicly, like you said on NPM, but you could also have all your own plugins. Like internally within American Airlines, we have something like 50 plugins that are just internal to us. One of the key things that we did early on was we encouraged teams that had other portals internally at the company that were offering a very similar thing, but they were all over the place. We had maybe 4 or 5 different portals that you have to go to get your actual application stuff that you needed to. And then we consolidated that. It's like, okay, convert your stuff to just backend services, and then let's create a plugin and let's actually make it available on Runway, which is what we called Backstage at American, because of course we have to come up with our own clever nickname. But you come to us, we help you and guide you to build your plugin. We integrate, and then that makes it so that the developers can come to one single spot for everything they need. So.
Yeah. Okay. So. When we're talking about implementation and the usage, So how do you see that implemented and used by developers? What developers can get out of it and why it's good for them?
Well, I mean, we make it almost essential for everything you do. Like even as a new developer joining the company, if you just need access to GitHub, for example, you come to Runway to get that access. You come to Runway to get access to certain pieces of data. We've built a whole runtime too, which is kind of separate from Backstage. It's its own thing. We have a multi-tenant environment in Kubernetes that is all maintained through our platform. So you come to Runway to onboard, create all the resources you need. We'll handle the infrastructure for you, and you throw the application at it, basically.
Right. And then like, do you see the application developers and owners getting like onboarded to Runway, and then everybody else can use them?
Yeah, exactly. So obviously we use the catalog to kind of catalog all the information, show everything, the ecosystem that we have. There is an adoption curve too. Not everyone is on our Runway platform yet. We don't go the route of like forcing you to use it. We think that although that can be valuable, it can also lead to some friction that's not quite there. So a lot of times we will try to basically there are some standards and some expectations from application teams at American, and we can make it easy. You come to us, basically it's like your fast pass. You don't have to worry about all these things. We just give it to you. Or you can build it yourself. That's fine too, but you then have to also build it yourself and maintain it and have a team to support it.
This is cool. And Alex, you mentioned that you are doing the UX part of it. So first of all, if I take it out of the box, I would assume it has UX already, right? So what are the special things that you add to Backstage to make it Runway? Is it like a valid even question? I don't know.
Yeah. So I think while Backstage does provide out-of-the-box components, we have found with our users that sometimes that isn't the most user-friendly for them to find what they're looking for. And that's kind of where I come in to tweak that a little bit. We do have like our custom theming, of course, to make it feel more like our brand. But I would say the biggest thing for me is just focusing on the experience and how can we make it easier? How can we get users where they want to go faster?
And in the end of the day, it's about developer productivity, right? Both the core and the UX, it's all just targeted to make the developer experience better. What are the results that you see, anecdotes, maybe like what really moved the needle for everybody and got everybody excited?
Well, I was going to add one thing. Well, result-wise, early on, when we were starting with Backstage, we wanted to make sure that we got the value we needed out of it, and we knew that the only way we were going to get value out of it was if we had the community come in. Runway would only succeed if those shared services teams actually came on board. So we did a lot of hackathons. We brought a lot of people in. We basically encouraged them to say, "Come, do the workshops with us. We'll teach you everything you need to know, and then we'll get you involved." And then from there, we'll kind of figure out what the platform can be. Aleks has been very good at saving us from that point in time, because you can imagine a bunch of hackathons, people throwing templates, plugins. We ended up with a lot of templates. Yeah, we ended up with a lot of plugins, a lot of junk, quite a lot of junk, and we needed to make it usable after a while. But as far as successes go, like we've had previously, before Backstage, before Runway, we had a very long lead up time to get something into production officially. If a team was starting from scratch, it could take them up to 2 months to actually get all the approvals, all the tickets and everything done so that they can just put an application in Azure, for example. And then that's not even including maybe some integration points that they need to also request access to. And then now with Backstage and with Runway and our shared Kubernetes platform, we can get you with a running application on an AA.com domain with a form and a few clicks in like 10 minutes, less than 10 minutes. Wow. Assuming you fill the form pretty quickly, obviously.
Very impressive. And Jack, you wanted to mention something about the benefits of implementation.
As you said, it's really important to get your organization mapped within Backstage, because it's self-serving. It becomes more and more useful the more your organization's reflected within the IDP. I've seen some examples of Runway, and it's very impressive what you've done. I love seeing how different organizations have drastically changed Backstage and maybe some of the UX issues as well. But yeah, it's fascinating to see. But internally at Spotify, we measured Backstage. So we found that engineers were making over 2 times more GitHub contributions and deploying to production like twice as often because everything's there for them in one central place and they're not tirelessly looking. And it works for all kinds of engineers you have in your company, whether they're experienced or whether they're new joiners. And something else we measured is for new joiners, we were measuring the time it takes for them to make their 10th pull request in GitHub. We measured that as they're comfortable in their team and they know what they're doing and they're actively contributing to the systems. Before Backstage, that was about 60 days we were seeing people do that. And since Backstage, we've found that to be 20 days. So it's been drastically cut down, and it's because all the information, documentation, the services they're responsible for, it's all there in front of them in one single view for them.
That's developer productivity for you, like there, right? This is very, very impressive. Any closing thoughts? Except of, hey, come and hear our talks in a couple of hours. Yeah?
No, nothing else from me.
All right, perfect. All right. Folks, thank you very much. It was great to host you. It was great to hear about Backstage and about Runway. For you folks, keep being tuned on Builder Propulsion Lab because we have more interviews to come. And not only from me, Trisha is here to take over and interview amazing people as well. With that, thank you very much and bye-bye.